let's start. Hi, Mr. Jon Moritsugu.
Yes, hi, good to see you. Hello, Germany. How's everybody?
Yeah. So you are director, writer, and musician. You directed movies like My Degeneration,
Yeah,
Mommy, Mommy, Where's My Brain, Pig Death Machine, and Modfuck Explosion.
yeah.
For someone who hasn't seen your movies, how would you describe them?
Wow, they're everything. They're first of all they're funny. They're
Yeah.
fucked up. They're challenging, but they're also heartfelt. I think they're almost like a just a combination of everything in life that's meaningful, like the boring, the mundane with the exciting, with the good and the bad. The movies are almost like a slice of life. You get a slice of reality with each movie. But
Mhm.
it's amplified and jazzed up and made a little more interesting.
Mhm. So I try to watch a few of your movies, and for me, you can't sort them in one typical genre. So um,
Yeah,
often you
you could call them underground movies or independent movies or punk movies. There are a lot of different labels, but ultimately, I think that they're good stories. They're good stories.
yeah, and often you are called the king of underground or
Yeah,
punk cinema.
yeah.
So how what does the word punk mean to you?
To me, it means you have a passion to say something, to create something, to put it into the world. You might not have the resources, the money, the
Yeah.
education, the backing to do it very well or how you want to do it. You might not even have the technique or the skills or the intellect to do it, but you have to say something and you go for it. And to me, punk is a way of expressing yourself where you defy the odds. Odds are against you, but you still manage to get the work done and communicate out to the world. So to me, punk is about people who have limitations, handicaps, problems, but they find a way around these limitations to create something momentous and sort of magical. That to me is what, a punk movie, a punk album, a punk lifestyle is about.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a nice definition of punk, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so, but watching your movies, uh, this punk is not really meant in a political way. It's more
Yeah.
like something against the rules of Hollywood. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
yeah. Which would be political because when I started out making movies, I said to myself, I don't have much money, I don't have much resources, but I do want to make movies, and I saw it almost as like a political act to start a production company where I'm the only person running the whole studio, where I'm making movies that are playing in theaters, and I thought it was a way of showing the world that you don't need that much to make a good movie. You don't need much money or equipment. I think it ultimately is a political act. It's saying, hey, there are different ways to do things, and it's not necessarily about your budget or the camera you use.
Mhm. So watching your movies, it seems like the music is a very important
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah,
So,
I always thought that movies are 50% music and sound, 50% the visuals, and I've always felt that the music sometimes seemed more important to me than the actual visuals, where I would hear a song and I would say, I want to put this song in the movie, and I would have no idea what the scene would even look like, but I just want to use a song. And I would
mhm,
use a song inspire me and get me excited about creating the scene. I mean, a lot of times for me, the music comes before the movie and the writing and the characters. Also, in the early days, I was inspired by the American punk and hardcore scene and record labels like Discord and SST and bands like Black Flag and stuff like that. And I said, what I want to do with my filmmaking is mimic and follow the bands, except
mhm,
I'm making movies instead of music. So I said, I'm going to make a movie, and when it's done, I'm going to go on a tour and go on the road and get in
mhm,
a car and drive around and just almost pretend I'm in a band, except I'm going on the road with a movie. I think there are a lot of similarities between music and movies, and I've also gotten a lot of support from the music scene where musicians and bands really want to be in a soundtrack, and it's been really great just working with musicians and bands. Really, it's really helped them filmmaking. But it's, you know, I again, I think movies are all about the sound. Sound is so important in a movie.
Mm-hmm. So you have a band right now, I guess it's
Yeah.
Low on High.
Go on high. It's me and my wife Amy, who's the star of all
Yeah.
the movies, and it's just the two of us in the band. So I play guitar, she plays bass. We both
Yeah.
sing and scream. No drums, but
Mm-hmm.
it's noisy, feedback, crazy, but also very hooky, very catchy. And so it's like our shows are about 15 minutes long, and we sound like we're like 10 people on the stage. We're very loud, crazy
Yeah.
stuff. Low on high.
So would you consider yourself more a director or more a musician?
Director. I'm not that great at music. Amy is a real musician because she came up from a family of musicians. Her dad was a world famous jazz musician, and so she can play beautifully. She has a natural ability. Music is really her natural gift. It isn't mine, but I have so much fun doing music. It's so much fun to write a song in 10 minutes. You know, a movie might take you 10 years to complete, but you know, a song you can do it in 10 minutes. So it's really great.
Yeah, so you already talked about your wife, Amy Davis,
Yeah.
who also stars in a lot of your movies.
Yeah.
So mm, maybe do you want to tell how did you meet and how
Oh
is
my,
it?
we met in college,
Yeah.
and we were both at a Christmas party, and across the room we saw each other, and our eyes locked, and we knew it. We knew we were going to be together forever, and that's what happened. We've you know, been collaborating, making these movies for a few decades now, playing music together, and it's a really intense, great relationship. You know, it really is challenging, but you know, from the moment we saw each other, we knew, which was pretty great thing.
Mhm. And how is it working with your partner in the
Oh my
movie
gosh, it's
industry?
completely hard and challenging. I mean, it is sometimes the battle of the sexes or the battle of the ideas, and
Yeah.
you know, it definitely takes a lot of skill to collaborate with someone, especially someone like me. I want to do everything myself and come up with all the ideas, and I've had to share. It's been really hard, but it's been a really growing thing, and I feel that uh, what she's contributed to the movies has been, you know, priceless. Her heart, her sense of humanity, her humor. This has all come into the movies because of her. I like to think that I'm punk, but she's
Mhm.
new wave, and you put
Okay.
them together and you come up with something that's even better, right? You can't be
Uh,
punk all the time, you can't be new wave all the time, but you put them together, you get something magical.
mhm. So um, Amy playing in your movies, it makes female protagonists in your movies. So was it planned that there is often a female protagonist, or is this something that just happened?
I always like the female protagonist in movies. I've always been drawn to the misunderstood, strong female protagonists, especially like the troubled character. So that was my thing. But you know, uh, I I don't know. I think she's just brought so much to the movies, you know, by, you know, her experiences in life and whatnot. But yeah, I think female protagonists are much more interesting than the male ones.
Yeah, and she's also starring in the movie Mod Fuck Explosion
Yeah,
that we're
yeah,
going to see at Film
yeah.
Festival.
That's a good one.
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about this movie?
All right. This movie was filmed a long time ago, 1992,
Yeah.
in San Francisco, and it was before San Francisco became a technology city. It was a scuzzy hippie city. It was cheap to live there, so it was filmed before technology, computers hit, and we literally fell in love on the movie set. She flew out from New York to be in the movie. We weren't together, but we fell in love on the movie set, and you can see it in the movie, the way she looks at the character. you know, stuff at the camera and stuff like that. But it to me is the perfect movie. Out of all the movies, I love the way it turned out. But it also was the one with the best memories, just falling in love on the movie set with her. We shot the whole thing. It was a pretty quick shoot, 3 weeks, 18-day shoot over 3 weeks. We used really just average 16mm equipment, but we had one major technological breakthrough in this movie. We did the post-production, the soundtrack, the sound work in 1993-94, and this was the first feature movie to have a completely digital soundtrack created on a computer. Up until then, no one had done it. They'd done a couple short movies, but for this one, we said, let's make the entire soundtrack on a desktop Mac computer. And that's how we did it. And it was the first feature movie to ever have a completely digital computerized soundtrack with no analog equipment being used really for that. Yeah, it was pretty weird. Yeah, we got some really big write-ups, but and the guy I was working with, Alberto, he used to run the Sundance Film Festival, but he's like a genius. So he basically figured out a way to sync up Pro Tools to a time code to the video so we could do the soundtrack, but no one had ever done this before. He sort of invented it. So, you know, big technology going on this punk rock scuzzy movie.
Modfuck Explosion is something like it's called something like a West Side Story, the punk version of West Side Story, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely explores the ideas of being a teenager, being young in this world, maybe feeling powerless, not knowing who you are, who your friends or family is. And just like West Side Story, it's about a couple of innocent teenagers falling in love and one big fateful night and all the fucked up crazy shit that happens that night. West Side Story is a great movie. Even, you know, Rebel Without a Cause also is another movie that I love about teenagers. And these two movies definitely inspired Modfuck Explosion.
In the end of Modfuck Explosion, there's this scene with when Amy walks through this room with the rotting meat.
Yes, lots of meat.
Yeah. So
can you
explain that scene a little bit?
Yeah. I love meat. I love to eat it. I love to play with it. But the funny thing is that came from a dream I had. All right, so I was writing the script. I went to sleep one night, and when I woke up the next morning, I remembered a dream, and it was a beautiful dream. In my dream, I stepped outside my front door and I walked through my yard, and everything was made out of meat in the yard. The trees, the grass, the rocks, the birds, everything in the landscape was meat. And so I woke up and I said, that was weird, crazy shit. And I remembered it, and I said, I have to put this in a movie. And so for Modfuck Explosion, I said, yes, she has to have a dream sequence where she, you know, the character's walking through a garden of meat. So it was the art director and production designer. They had to get 1,200 pounds of rotting beef, and we laid it out on the set, and we filmed it, and it started rotting and heating up and flies, and then we had to get rid of the meat, and so we ended up dumping it behind a police station, and we never got caught, so we got lucky. Yeah. But yeah, that was one of the hardest things to film, because by the end of the day, it was so stinky. We had to put on gas masks, and half the crew just disappeared. It was only 3 of us who had to clean up the whole thing. It was messed up, but it was worth it. It looks really cool.
Oh my God, that sounds.
Are you a vegetarian?
No, I'm not. Okay. But my girlfriend is vegan, so she.
Man,
I don't know if she will like this scene.
Yeah, she might have to close her eyes.
Yeah. Then I watched another movie of you. It was Fame Horror.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. But it's a very different style than Modfuck Explosion. So can you explain? Were you experimenting at that time?
Yeah, Fame Horror came out right after Modfuck Explosion, and for Modfuck Explosion, I was saying, you know, this movie is relying on shock effects and meat, gardens of meat to scare you, and you know, the title is shocking. So I said, I want to really do a movie that's about the writing and the character development. So for Fame Horror, it follows a 3-act story structure. There's a trajectory, a dramatic arc. It's a very normal movie. And I said, with this movie, it's going to be so normal, I'm gonna make $1 million, and this is gonna be my gateway to Hollywood. And it didn't turn out that way, but yeah, Fame War is one of the most normal movies I've made, but it's, I think, one of the funniest. And it actually was up for an Academy Award very briefly. For a couple weeks, it was an Oscar contender, and then they kicked it out of the running because it's screened in 16 millimeter, not 35 millimeters. So it was sort of sad, but I complained and I got the rules changed. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah, I read about that. I read that it was considered to be for the Academy Awards, but it was filmed in 60 millimeters. So, but
yeah.
afterwards, you changed to
yeah, I complained to them, and I actually had a number of phone conversations with the head of the Oscars of the Academy, the head of the Academy. This guy like John Davis or something. I was talking to him, and he was very nice and very receptive, and he basically said, next year we're going to change the rules, so next year it doesn't matter what format you screen your movie in, it doesn't have to be 35 millimeters. So these days you can screen a movie in LA and have a run, from a like from a DCP or from a digital format, and then you can go up for an Oscar. But in the old days, you had to project it on 35 millimeter. That's like bullshit. So anyway, they changed the rule the next year. They said format doesn't matter. That's discrimination. But he said, unfortunately, we can't let you re-enter your film. You're out of the running. And he said, but you know that you have changed the rules. Thank you. So even though I was not in the Oscar running, I helped to make the rules better for everybody out there. So yeah, that's what I did for humanity.
What do you think about the Oscars anyway?
I really don't watch them. I don't pay attention to them, but every year I'm sort of impressed with, there are always movies that get in there that you really don't know about, that you don't hear about, that are like the underdog movies that win something. And every year you can go back to even like Boys Don't Cry. That was a true independent movie, and it swept the Oscars. It won a bunch of them. But I think it's a cool award. I think they're trying really hard to include more types of films and filmmakers, but ultimately, it's an Oscar, whatever. But yeah, I would sure love to win one. I have my speech planned out. It's going to be a really funny speech. It's going to be wild. Yeah, we can't wait.
Cool. So my next question is, how was it as an underground filmmaker in the 90s? How were you connected in a time before internet? So were you connected to other filmmakers, or how did you get to the audience before internet?
It was exactly like the internet, except slow.
Yeah.
So let's say you have a show coming up. Now you do the Instagram, you story it, you do all this shit, and you get, the day of the show, you tell people like 3 days before. In the old days, what you would do is you go to Kinko's, the photocopy place, and you print up on a photocopy machine little postcards with 2 weeks from now, the date, the place, the time for your show, and you hand them out to people, hand them out to friends. You would go around the town with posters and put them up. We'd paste the posters up everywhere. You would get on the radio and try to talk on people's radio shows about your show. You talk to friends. You spread word of, you talk to the newspapers to get a write-up up. And then as far as meeting filmmakers, a lot of it was telephone, fax machine, and just meeting in person. You meet people at the rock shows, at the music shows, at the art shows. It was very similar to how things are today, very grassroots, DIY, do-it-yourself. Let's self-empower ourselves to do stuff, but we didn't have the technology. So it was also challenging. So you're a filmmaker, you don't have much money, you want to make a short film, but it's going to cost you hundreds of dollars to buy the film stock and process it. So it taught us to be economical and not to overshoot footage, to plan shots, to save money up. I don't know, it was a really good time back in the 80s, but it's still a good time now. And, people sometimes ask me, was it harder to make movies then? Is it harder to make them now? Easier now? I'm going to tell you, I think it's just the same for everyone all the fucking time. We just come up with excuses saying like, oh man, in the old days, they didn't have the internet, and with the internet, everyone's famous, so I have more competition. I can't make my name anymore. That's
Mm.
true, but you can also shoot a movie in your bedroom in 1 hour in that afternoon. So I think it all balances out. I think the world pretty much operates the same way, and if you have something special and important to say, and you piece it together in the right way using a correct language and words of filmmaking,
Mm.
you create something special that's really powerful to you. I feel if you get out into the world, it's going to be powerful to other people, and it's still so possible and doable to make a good movie. I think it's exactly the same. Filmmaking is exactly the same as it was 50 years ago, same as it was 100 years ago, and we have different technology and cameras and ways of getting the movies, streaming it to people, but it ultimately gets down to just like a good story, the heart, the soul, humanity, good, bad, life is fucked up, life is beautiful, let's talk now. I think it all gets back down to the same shit.
Mm. So would you have an advice for young independent movie makers?
Yeah, I do. Just make your movies, get them done, get them out there. And my suggestion is do not put them up on YouTube immediately. Try to find another way to get an audience, and in the process, you might find a way to generate a little bit of money or income from it. And true, you can put stuff on YouTube and make money this way, true. But there are so many filmmakers I've talked to who they make a movie, it's really good, and they immediately put it up on YouTube, and maybe a couple hundred people watch it, and a week later, that's it. I think there's something beautiful about film festivals, screenings, events, movies playing in rock and roll clubs before bands play. I don't know. There's something about a movie being an event rather than it being something for free on the internet. And I have nothing against posts on the internet, movies on the internet, but honestly, if you are a filmmaker and you're like, I want to make movies, try to hold back and put it up on YouTube as last resort if you can't get into fests and no one wants to watch it. Last resort, but figure out other ways to bust your movie out in a fucking amazing way. I knew this kid, he made a Super 8 movie, and he didn't get into any film festivals, but he thought it was really good. So what he did is he got a portable Super 8 projector, and he would project it outside of rock and roll clubs on the wall when there's a line of people waiting to get in on a Friday, Saturday night. He would project his movie outside for people to watch, and he got an audience that way. He became known as a filmmaker because he was showing it outside of the rock and roll club. And I thought that was brilliant, such a good idea. And again, much better than just putting it up on YouTube. I mean, I hope he's put it up on YouTube now, but there's so many creative and different ways to not only make a movie, but to promote them and get people to see them. Just think outside the box. That's my thing for filmmakers is think outside the box, ask for help, and don't put it up on YouTube immediately if you don't have to.
I guess that's it.
All right. Hey, Don.
Do you have something to tell or what you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, just everyone, just enjoy this movie. I mean, it was a labor of love, but out of all the movies I've made, this is, for me, the one that turned out the best. Not only because Amy's starring in it and we fell in love on the movie set, but it just felt like everything, it was the perfect storm. Everything came together beautifully. And out of all the movies I've made, this one has the best memories. And you can sort of tell when you're watching the movie, you can sort of sense the vibe behind the scenes. But yeah, this movie was a joy to make. It was fucked up. It was fun. It was funny. It was great. It was everything. We had fights. We had laughter. We had love. We had everything on the movie set. But it came together beautifully. And yeah, just thank you for coming to the screening, because this is my favorite movie. Until the next one comes out, Numbskull Revolution, that's going to be the new favorite. All right, thanks everybody. Woo! Rock and roll.
That was great.
All right. Hey, thanks, Dominic. All right, Ross. So good meeting you. Okay, you take care, man.
That was very cool. You have such power.
Ah, man, you too. I love your questions. Thank you. All right, you guys have a good fest, and you know what? Try to get some sleep so you're all well for the fest. Just take care of yourself. Then party down when the fest starts.
Yeah. I try to get
get to
healthy
sleep right
to
now.
the festival. So
yeah, don't go out. Don't go out. Don't meet your girlfriend. Don't go out. Have fun with friends. Go to bed. Drink some tea.
It's the weekend, but I stay in. So
All right, Dominic.
Jon,
Thank you so much.
so much. Thank you that you took your time,
Okay, love you.
and see you.
All right.
Have a great
Okay.
day. Have a great Saturday.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Ciao.
Bye bye.